Hello family, welcome back once again to KETEKE Fashion Village. In this video, we are come to learn how to draft a kaftan or a senator suit. These are the measurements we will need. Our chest being 40, our length being 32, our crossback being 16. So you divide your chest into 4 giving us 10, your crossback into 2 giving us 8. So now you will come to your shoulder slope. To get your shoulder slope, you will take your chest divided by 4, which gave you 10, and add, let's say, 2, giving us 12. So you measure your 12 here and come down at the point where the 12 was. Come down 3.5. That's the shoulder slope. That's the measurements I use for grown-ups. That's 3.5. But when it's a kid, you'd have to assume and make sure you assume right after you cut it off. This senator suit or kaftan that we are doing is on a paper. So after you cut it together, we folded the paper into 2. So after getting this, you come down 4 inches, 4 inches, and draw. Then after, you will cut in between the paper and cut just the one on top off. The one on top is the front. After you cut it off this way, you come here from the one on top, half of an inch, and draw your line. After getting this, you fold the back on top of the front. This way. After doing this, you will now start. So you come to your crossback being 8, crossback being 8 plus half. The half we are adding to the crossback divided by 2 is the allowance that will be sewing at our armhole area. So we have it like this. Now to get your armhole depth, I have a chart that I have derived in getting armhole depth depending on the chest. So I'll place that on the screen so that you know the chest and the armhole depth you are working with. I'm working with chest 40, the armhole depth is 8. So I'll mark the 8, then I'll draw my line this way. Then I'll come and put in my chest right at the armhole depth. That was 10. You come down a bit, you mark your 10, and you connect to get your actual body this way. After getting this, you will come down 5.5 to get the stomach or the waist, and now you come here 15 to get your slit. So I do 5.5 for mostly grown-ups, which is constant for me. The 5.5 works. Or when the person is taller, you can come down 7.5 and here 17. So after getting this, I'll draw my line. This being the waistline and this being the slit line. And you know, with the male body, we are not straight. With my senator suit or kaftan, I make sure there's shape in it. So I'll come inside 3 of quarters. So after coming in 3 of quarters, I'll now connect. Please check the placement of the curve very well. So after this, I'll add my 1 inch of allowance. So now this becomes your new body. So 1 inch, then another 1 inch here. Then I'll do my connecting again to show my allowance. Check the placement of the curve very well. This way. Then now with my slit area, I'll come down here, 1.5, 1.5. Then I draw it out this way. And now I'll blend it into the slit. So after this, you come to your armhole. You divide your 8 into 2, giving you 4. After getting this, you come in 3/4. Then now you take your armhole curve. Make sure that the armhole curve is touching the 3/4, touching this part, and also touching your allowance, not the main body, the allowance. So now you draw. This way. After you cut it, you cut the front and the back together. So now we have this. But remember, anytime when you are cutting a kaftan or a senator suit, you have to make sure the front armhole is deeper than the back armhole to prevent gaping at this area. Some people take measurement and they put in, but I don't do that. I just take in half each off and it works for me. So now I'll measure from here to the armhole depth, which I'm having 6.5. 6.5 divided by 2, that'll give me 3.25. So 3.25, I can stand there and come in my 1/2 inch. Then I'll blend. You can use a curve or your hand, anyone that works for you. So you now cut it off. So it becomes like this. You will now have your front armhole being deeper than the back armhole. Now let's come to the neckline. The neckline too, some people measure the neckline and they use it. I don't measure the neckline. You can measure, but I have a way of getting my necklines. So with the neckline, I'll measure here 2.25 for chest 40. But when it's chest, let's say chest 50, chest 51, 48, I can go 2.5. Don't go more than 2.5 when it comes to this side. So I go 2.25, then I'll come down 3.5. Sometimes it depends on the chest, it can be 3, 3/4. Don't go more than 4. It's better your neckline becomes smaller and you can open later when you cut the fabric, or than your neckline becoming bigger. You can't do anything about it. If you can do, it will even give you an effect. So after this, cutting just the front, you bring back the back and mark where the back intersects with the front. You mark, you can snip or just mark. So when you snip, it's like this. After you realize there's a line here, you come down 1/2 inch to draw in your back neckline. So this way you cut it off. After you have your neckline being this, you can measure your neckline and check with what you measure on the person. But me, I don't measure people's neck. I had 8, giving me 16, which is reasonable. So when you are sewing your neckline, make sure you sew just a quarter. Don't sew half, just a quarter. So after this, you can now put in your length. Our length was 32. So 32 plus 2 inches. So now you can cut it off. Then now you separate your patterns. This becomes your front. And this becomes your back. So this is your senator suit or your kaftan. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the page and the video. Also, share your comments. Let me know what you would like to learn in the next video. Thank you.